remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and I am super excited to be here to share my thoughts, share my opinions with you, but also to get to know what you have to say and what your thoughts are with regard to whatever it is that we are talking about. All right. So like I said, I'm super excited to be here, and I want to share my thoughts with you and opinions with you as well. But that also means that you have to share your thoughts and opinions with me. All right. All you need to do is just text me or call me on 078-52473473. Share your thoughts, share your opinions. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know what you think needs to be done about this, and why exactly people with eating disorders is in fact such a big problem here in the United Kingdom. All right, so feel free to share your thoughts. Feel free to let me know what you're thinking about this, right? And now, before we actually head into our conversation, I also want to very quickly remind you that you can, in fact, go follow us on our socials, all right? All you need to do is just like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because that will help you be updated and help you be informed about the very latest that happens in the world, because we make sure that it's our priority to make sure that you understand and you are updated on the very latest news that happens in the world, all right? And don't forget to download the app either, because that's available absolutely free on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and that way you can actually make sure that you're always listening in regardless of where you are in the world. And regardless of what you're doing, you're always making sure that that is what is happening. All right. So make sure to do that, because I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love if you could be a part of the show and you interact with me and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. All right. So please go ahead and do that. And now let's actually head into our conversation, because basically we're going to be talking about how eating disorders are in fact one of the biggest problems in the United Kingdom, but also how there has been a record number of people suffering with eating disorders who are waiting for treatment, right? Now, we spoke some time back about these waiting lists in hospitals, right? Especially during COVID, what happened was this waiting list, in fact, got longer and longer. And this is partly because all of these patients that were in hospital, all of these patients that were waiting to get treatment, they actually had to be postponed because the hospitals had to make space, had to make beds, had to find ICU, had to find the ICU to essentially deal with patients who got COVID. Right. And this was like one of the biggest problems, because it did in fact put a huge burden on the National Health Service to take care of these people. Right. So that is why a lot of people are waiting now for treatment. And also that is why a lot of people, the waiting lists in hospitals have gotten longer. Now, this problem of waiting lists actually existed before the pandemic, and they were trying to solve it. And they were actually halfway there in solving the problem. But obviously, with the pandemic, obviously, with everything that happened, they couldn't really solve all of that. All right. So it's important to keep that in mind as well before we head into this conversation. Now, a record number of young children and young people have actually been diagnosed with a potentially life-threatening eating disorder, and they're waiting treatment here in England, right? And psychiatrists are actually warning that there is this soaring demand, and that is in fact overwhelming for their services, right? because NHS data actually analyzed, NHS data actually analyzed by the Royal College of Psychiatrists actually show that while this number of those waiting for urgent treatment has reached record levels during the pandemic, there are actually much more children and young people who are being treated than ever before. All right. So then I feel like we also need to talk a little bit about eating disorders, why exactly it is happening, and why exactly all of these things happen. All right. But before we actually do that, I want to very quickly tell you that you can be a part of this show. Share your thoughts, share your opinions with me, because I would love to hear what you have to say about this, right? Let me understand why you think eating disorders are a big problem. Why exactly are people and young children actually so affected by eating disorders? So let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, share your thoughts, share your opinions with me as well. Right now, what experts have actually said is that the number of people experiencing these problems with regard to eating disorders have in fact increased sharply amid the pandemic, with conditions such as anorexia on the rise and on the rise during isolation or even lockdown. All right. Now, disruption to health services also means that much more people have had to wait much longer to get help. All right. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. All right. Because eating disorders are in fact a huge problem here in the United Kingdom. There are so many people suffering from eating disorders, and it's up to us to understand and figure out why exactly this happens and possibly help people who we know that might be suffering from these eating disorders. All right. But now we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that, we will be back to discuss more of this. So until then, make sure that you stay tuned.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're writing? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, and mainly one because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. But yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like cafes, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and I'm super excited to be here because we're talking about very important and interesting conversation here in the United Kingdom. Right, we're focusing on a lot of problems that we face here in the United Kingdom, and essentially what we're trying to do is to make people aware, is to make people understand that there are these problems that we need to focus and help people who might be going through these problems as well. All right, now you're tuned into Relaks Radio, and we literally talk about anything and everything, right? From sports to science to health, technology, whatever it is that you want to be updated about, we talk about literally anything and everything. All right, so don't forget to go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about everything that we talk about. All right. Now, something else that you need to keep in mind and something else that you need to remember is that you can actually go like us on Facebook, like I said, and follow us on our socials, but also you can download our app, all right, because that is available for free on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and that will actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about these things, all right? And don't forget to text me or call me on 078-524-73473 to share your thoughts, share your opinions, because that way I can actually that way I can actually make sure that you're always informed and updated, but also that you're sharing your thoughts and opinions with me. Okay, so don't forget to do that. And now let's actually head into our conversation, because we're going to be talking about how there is in fact a record number of people who are awaiting treatment for eating disorders in here in the United Kingdom. All right. Now, to put it very simply, eating disorders are something that is commonly seen here in the United Kingdom, and that might possibly be because of the time that we spent on social media. Because, literally every time we're free, I mean, at least me, every time I'm free, I'm on my phone, right? And I'm always on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and Facebook. And fortunately, though, I don't follow a lot of, what you would call models, supermodels, the size 8 figures with beautiful bodies. And in my opinion, those are very unrealistic expectations of women's bodies, or even bodies in general. Those are very unrealistic expectations. And I don't, I don't consume a lot of content that talks about these things. Because in my opinion, I don't think any of that is very realistic. However, that's not how everyone else thinks, right? There are so many people out there who see this sort of content, right? And especially because we know how our Instagram and, we know how these algorithms work. We know that the moment you utter something, or say you text someone saying, I want to look pretty, or I wish I was thin, or I wish I had a nice figure, we know that we're going to see ads like that, because that's just how stuff works right now. You have these different algorithms, you have these different different processes that they use to essentially understand a consumer, understand a customer, and then target them using those advertisements, right? So the truth is, also because of lockdown, we've been spending a lot of time at home on social media, right? Because we don't spend the same amount of time we used to spend going to work, going to school, coming back home after school and from work. Because right now, or at least a few months ago, we were locked down, right? And that meant that we had to work from home, we had to study from home, we had online learning, we had online education. And a lot of the time that we spent doing other things was actually spent with us being on our phones, right? And obviously, because of that, what happened is that we actually, we would consume more content that was, supermodel content or body positivity content, which was not really good for any of us at all, right? And the truth is, also, during lockdown, for one, I was so stressed out, and I literally just ate, right? And sometimes when you get stressed out, you eat. And I did put on a bit of weight, right? And then, the moment you step out, there will be so many people saying, oh my gosh, why do you put on weight? Like, oh, thanks, Jennifer. I never check myself out in the mirror. Thank you for telling me that. But you know what I mean? So a lot of us, we changed. We were stressed out. I mean, come on, it's a pandemic. That's a stressful situation. I think you're allowed to have a specific amount of emotions and feel stressed out about that thing, So that is what happened. And there was also, disruption to health services, which meant that people had to wait much, much longer to get help. All right. And, basically when it comes to eating disorders, delay in treatment when it comes to eating disorders can actually put a lot of children's lives at risk. All right. So that's why it's important for us to understand that when it comes to eating disorders, we need to make sure they get treatment, because anorexia, which is prevalent here in the United Kingdom, happens to have one of the highest mortality rates, right? You have people who either eat too little, who either eat too much, or they purge, they fast, or it's all combination of all of that. And that's how bad eating disorders are. So that is something that we need to focus on as well. All right. So make sure you stay tuned, because we're actually going to head into a small break. And after that, we will be back to discuss more of this. But until then, make sure that you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow.